Amal. It's preparing to live stream. Okay, cool. Amazing. Hello, everybody. We do see a couple of people here already. Um, Amazing. Bethel, do you see it?
No, not yet.
Okay, it says it's live streaming on YouTube right now. Yeah. Hello,
Nope.
everybody. Okay, see, I think it's working for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good, good, good. I just don't know how to look at the chats. Okay, guys, do we want to introduce ourselves really quick? Whoever wants to go first.
I can go first. Hi guys, my name is Majd. I am a Maverick Global Ambassador lead. I'm currently in Saudi Arabia, where I'm originally from. I've been at MSU for 3 years, and I'm majoring in criminal justice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amal. I am majoring in cognitive science, and I studied in the MSU for a year and a half. My next semester is going to be my second full year in there. And I'm currently in Uzbekistan, where I'm originally from.
Hi guys, my name is Bethel. I'm from Ethiopia and I'm a sophomore in biomed sciences. So nice to meet you guys.
And hi, everybody. My name is PJ. I'm the International Recruitment Graduate Assistant for the Kearney International Center, and I am from Nepal. So for our agenda today, we are going to be briefly talking about, say, I'm going to show you guys the agenda for the day really quick, and then all of us are kind of going to take turns talking about it. We will have time for Q&As at the end, but if you do have questions at all, please go to the Q&A tab and leave your questions there. That's the best way for us to answer your questions. So again, if you have any questions, put it on the Q&A tab, or you can also add it to the chat. I will be monitoring it, so go ahead and do that. Before we start, I am going to put our international admissions email just in case you do have questions that we're not able to answer today. So let me do that right now. So that's going to be international@mnsu.edu. This is the best way to have any other questions that we're unable to answer answered. Did everybody see the chat that I just put out? Okay, amazing. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll show you guys the agenda for today. No, not that one. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about housing. So what it's like living on campus versus off campus, so you guys can make the decision that best fits you and what you're looking for out of your university experience. We're also going to be talking about traveling to Mankato very briefly, coming to the airport, what to expect at the airport, and then from the airport, how to get to Mankato. Our other MGA is going to be doing a session on preparing for winter, so what you're expected, what to expect, how to prepare for winter, obviously, because you guys are coming at a very colder time where there's going to be snow, so we want to make sure that you're dressed properly and everything. So our MGA Majd, we'll talk about it later. And then the final slot we're going to be talking about is registered student organizations. We obviously want you guys to have a good experience at MNSU. So, that comes with getting involved on campus and how you can do that. And Amal is going to be talking about that and her experience, as well as all of our other MGAs as well. So, with that in mind, should we start with the on-campus housing?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, cool, cool, cool. Let me go ahead and pull that up really quick, and then we can go from there. Bethel, were you able to get into the YouTube?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect. Let me know if there are any questions on there at all, please. All right. So for this session, Bethel and Amal are going to be talking about their experience. So I'm going to mute myself and kind of let them take it away.
Want to go ahead?
sure thing. So we're gonna talk about finding housing on and off campus at MSU. And there are two types of housing at MSU, as I mentioned, on and off campus. And the options are there's the off campus Stadium Heights apartments. Stadium Heights is the one affiliated with MSU. It's the MSU off-campus apartment, and there are other apartments from other different companies as well. And the on-campus ones are the resident dorms. And there are four types of resident dorms that I've mentioned. Yeah, so there are four residence halls, Crawford, McElroy, and Prescott, and there's also one that's kind of an apartment style, but it's on campus, and that's Julie Sears. And they have different type of rooms in each of these dorms. They're basic, renovated, and semi-suites. The semi-suites are the ones in the Prescott community, and you have to apply beforehand to get into the dorms. Mal, do you want to take over? Think Amal's disconnecting a little bit.
That's okay. So
Mhm.
while we wait for Amal to reconnect, you're not required to live on campus your first year, your first semester. I think a lot of students do have that question as if it's required. You're not required to. It's completely optional, but we do find that students who do choose to live on campus at least their first year, do succeed more academically. And again, this is not a requirement, but again, if it is something that you can afford and you're able to, I would highly recommend that you do. Amal, I think you're back, so we'll let you take it away.
You want to share the screen with us, DJ?
Okay, so my experience with on-campus living, there are definitely pros and cons in both. And I'm choosing to live in on campus because, as you know, Minnesota is a cold state, and sometimes it's hard for me. I hate cold. To leave far and walk to the courses. Although we have a great transportation system and free buses for students, I am not that patient. So I'm living in Julia Sears. There are four different on-campus housing options, and they are McElroy, Crawford, Julia Sears, and Prescott. And all of them are very close to campus. All of them are having their own tunnels inside of it, so you don't even have to go outside sometimes to get somewhere, to your classes or maybe dining center or whatever you need on campus. There are different types of rooms too in each of the buildings. There are basic rooms, there are renovated rooms, and semi-suites. With basic and renovated rooms, you get a lot of space, cool heaters, and like air control.
And we lost her.
Yeah.
And we lost her. So while we wait, like Amal was saying, there are different options for you to choose from. So if, it could be depending on your budget. Okay, she's still stuck. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of talk a little bit more until she gets connected. But yes, like Amal was saying, there are different options. So you could look at semi-suite is the one where you can share, you don't have to share a community bathroom. Well, technically you're sharing it with three other people, but that's the one where there is, I think, you don't have to share as much because then it's like two people on this side, two people on this room, and then there's a bathroom in the middle that's connected by, and I think that's the one Amal's living in. Amal, you're back, so I'll let you.
I am sorry, my internet's just going crazy today. So yeah, that's exactly where I'm living, and there's also an option to take a single semi-suite where you don't have to share the bathroom with like three people. You're only sharing it with someone else because you're living in a single room, someone else is living in a single room, and you just share the bathroom. Off campus still has its own benefits in terms of that you can buy a furniture you'd like. There's a lot more space for that. You can cook a lot of food in a more, more space kitchen. We also have kitchens on campus living, but they're a little smaller than the kitchen you'd have an off-campus option. Um, so there's that. Anything else I'm not
No, I
mentioning?
don't think so. Although if you are living on campus, you do have to get the meal plan. It's required. However, with the meal plans, I think if you're someone that doesn't like to cook, or just generally, would just prefer if there's already food you can eat, I think that's a great option, honestly. Even if you're living off campus and you don't want to cook, you can still get a meal plan. Now, the meal plan options really differ, depending on how much you want to pay, how much you want to eat a week. So really look into that. If anybody could put that link in the chat, that would be amazing. Are you doing it, Amal?
Yep.
Okay, Amal, thank you. So we're gonna put that link in the chat for you guys to look at in terms of like the on-campus housing rates as well as the food meal plan rate. So really try and gauge that. With living on campus, Amal and Bethel, tell me more about what do you think are the best benefits? What are the benefits of living on campus that you've personally found? Besides, I know Amal, you already said that it's easy for you to like get to classes, it's more convenient. Are there any other benefits that you guys can think of?
I was at an on-campus housing my first semester here, and I came here during the spring semester, so it was really cold and like snowy and everything. So, like as Amal said, I did not want to deal with being off campus and dealing with the snow at the same time. So, one of the benefits that I would say would be like kind of the close proximity that is to campus and to my classes. So I don't have to, walk in the snow for a long time and everything too. And there's tunnelways for that as well, but kind of being close to the resources that are on campus and being able to utilize them as quickly and everything is kind of the main reason why I chose to be on campus housing. And I want to go kind of talk about a little bit with the affordability as well. And there's a lot of affordable options for you to live on campus. That's kind of goes hand in hand with the basic and the renovated kind of rooms. So it kind of just went all on hand in hand for me, like for my experience personally.
Another big benefit for me is that you need to keep in mind that being an international student is a lot of job and a lot of stuff to keep in mind. So whenever you're living off campus, you need to keep in mind that you need to cook for yourself. You need to do a lot of cleaning and keep things up like internet, like lights and water, and pay the bills from different locations and stuff. And we don't have to do that when we live on campus, because whenever we pay for off campus for on campus living, it covers all of that for a year or a semester you're living in. Like, I mean, you make your contract for that, and you don't have to worry about stuff like that. Plus, you have your dining center and meal plans, so you don't have to worry about cooking for yourself or forgetting to eat when you have a lot of assignments or work to do. So that's a huge benefit, and it takes off a lot of things from your mind as a student.
Thank you for sharing. And so yeah, I know that a lot of students, a lot of us, like Bethel and Amal, they were talking about the tunnels. So just to quickly like clarify, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, what do you mean tunnels? Almost all of our buildings on campus are connected either by a skyway or an underground tunnel. Almost all of them, not all of them, obviously. Okay, Mish, you have something to say. And then, so in the
Yeah,
winter
it's about
time, go for
Sorry, it
it.
was about the tunnels. When we talk about winter, I will talk about the tunnels and I'll also show them how the tunnels kind of look like, if just in case we want to add that for later.
Amazing. That would be great. Yeah, so we'll show you guys what that looks like. Mesh will show you guys what that looks like so you guys have a general idea. But it's very convenient because in the winter time, you're not walking out in the snow constantly to get from one class to another. Because more likely than not, your classes are going to be in different buildings and you have to walk them. Again, this is a very walkable campus, but in the winter, if there's snow, it's like not that convenient. Other than that, obviously, it looks like Amal posted the link for housing meal. Oh, you just sent it to the hosts and panelists. I'm going to copy that and paste it in the chat. for everybody to see. Nope, that's not the one. Other than that, I think I think someone had a question. Does the basic plan for campus housing include kitchen just in case I want to cook? And it looks like Mish and Amal did respond to that student, but for the people that were not able to look at that, every residence hall on campus has its own community kitchen. So every floor has its own kitchen that you can use whenever you'd like. Obviously, you'll have to be mindful about if there's other people in there or not, but you will have a community kitchen that you have access to.
A lounge too. A lounge is like a space where you can sit, watch films, because you can rent the projector from the library. You can cook meals and have fun time with your, floor mates and just study. And if you study there, if a community advisor, that's a responsible person on the floor for you, and they help you a lot. If they see you studying in there, you get the study box, and the study box is like a ticket to a lottery. You can put it on the front desk to win some prizes, and the prizes are different all the time. Not one day, like 1 month, they had a TV as a prize. So that's a cool thing.
Okay, so we can slowly transition into off-campus housing. I am just sending the hosts, the panelists, quick. Another benefit of living on campus also is the community that you make. If you're living on campus, you don't have access to as many people to just meet. But if you're living on the same floor and you're constantly seeing them every day, it's a lot more convenient to network and find friends, is like the feedback I get from a lot of students. Now, obviously, everyone's experience is going to look different, but for the most part, I found that living on campus, you're able to make friends a lot easier than you would off campus. Okay, someone said they can't see the link to the campus housing cost. Let me copy that. For some reason, I can't copy your link, Amal, for some reason.
Just resend it again.
Yeah, could you just make sure to hit everyone?
Yep.
Thank you, sweetie. Alrighty. Okay, that's a really good question. So, okay. Let's move on to off-campus housing. So Mesh and I will kind of talk about our experience. I've always lived off-campus from the get-go, and so I think that's the same for Mesh. So we'll talk about our experience and what that looks like. Okay, can everybody see that? Cool. Do you want to go first, Mesh? I'll let you go first. You can talk about your experience.
Sure. So I've always lived off campus. I never lived on campus. The affordability that they were talking about with on campus is very accurate, but if you look at rent, it can tend to be cheaper to pay, but it doesn't come with the meal plans and it doesn't come with, how close you are to campus. But what's nice about Mankato, it's a small town, so no matter where you live in Mankato, you'll still be close to school. There are buses that are available, so even if it's a couple blocks away from the university, there are still buses that are available to you to use to campus, and it's completely free. I've lived in the same apartment for 3 years. It's great. I mean, I do wish I had the community living sense of living that on campus typically have. But you do get more independency living off campus. So you don't have CAs checking in on you, making sure, that you don't have the wrong things in your house. For me, I think what I benefit the most from living off campus is being able to adopt my cat. So I get to have a cat with me because you can't have pets on campus. But I've always liked the sense of independency with living off campus. Sometimes living on campus may feel like you're still living at school and you're still being supervised, even though you're not. but it just gives you that sense of freedom living off campus.
Yeah, I agree. I think with again, I've also always lived off campus from the beginning. So for me, I came here in 2016, so I've been here for a while. So when I first came here, I reached out to the Nepali Student Association, and then they connected me with some other Nepali students that were also coming in the same year and some students that were already here. So I ended up signing a lease with them. And there was obviously that familiarity. We all spoke the same language. I knew that if I needed help, I could just let them know. So that was my biggest reasoning as to living off campus that first year. And again, I also have a cat, and so being able to adopt my cat and having my cat with me was also very important because I've always wanted a pet. You can have pets on campus if they're service animals, but I think that's a whole process that we don't have to talk about today. With on campus and off campus housing, the one thing you have to remember is the leasing. Obviously, if you're going to live on campus, they're going to have a contract for you to sign on e-services and everything else. If you're living off campus, you have to independently find that apartment, reach out to them, let them know you're interested, fill out the application. That's all completely separate from the university. So you have to be very responsible about paying your rent, because if you're living on campus and you have that, it's all going to go into your student accounts, the billing. So it's a lot easier to not really think about it. But if you're living off campus, you have to be really responsible about when you're paying your rent, because it's always due on the first of the month. Making sure you have all of the utilities set up and that you're paying them on time, because some apartments will ask you to sign up for electricity separately, gas is separate, water might be separate, and you have to keep those in mind that, hey, okay, because they're all not going to have the same deadlines to pay. So you have to be very responsible about paying them on time so you don't have late fees. You have to make sure you're taking care of that apartment so that when you move out, you get your money back and things like that. So there's a lot of things that do come with living off campus that I think you guys need to be aware of. And if you're going to be living with other roommates, you have to make sure that you guys get along, and depending on how many bedrooms you're going to stay in. I think that's the biggest thing for me is making sure, again, some units come furnished, so some units will have furniture there already, so you don't have to buy furniture, especially I know that some apartments come with a bed frame, mattress, a study desk, and so you don't have to get anything. But then if you're moving into an apartment that's not furnished, you have to think about the cost that's involved with moving there, because then now you have to buy a mattress, you have to buy a bed frame, most likely. You have to get a study desk. If your living room's empty, you'll have to get a couch. So those are all additional costs that you have to think about before you're moving here. It's okay, yeah, I can get an apartment, but there's extra cost to everything else. Also, if you're moving here and you don't know anybody here, and you go into your apartment, there's nothing there, you need to make sure you're able to get stuff there. So there's a lot of variables that come with getting an off-campus housing option. But again, with affordability in your budget, really depends on you. Some apartment complexes will also do roommate matching for you. So they'll have a little form that you fill out, and they'll have questions like, are you an early bird? Do you go to bed early? Do you smoke? And then they kind of match you. They try their best to match you with someone that has the most similar answers as you do. But again, that's also, I don't know, it really depends, I think. I've personally had pretty decent experiences. I've lived in a bunch of apartments. So when I moved in, I was in a 2-bedroom, then I moved into a 3, 2 again, a 5-bedroom, and now I have another roommate. So again, I've moved a lot, but I've had pretty decent experiences in all of the units. That was a lot. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen for a second. I don't know if you guys had any other questions, but if you do, again, put it in the Amish, do you have something to say? I thought you had something to say.
No, but I could add that, with off campus too, it's about space as well. When you're in the dorms, you either have your own room or you're sharing a smaller space with your roommate. So yes, the utilities are all included. You don't have to worry about water, electricity, and all that stuff. But with living on your own, the space is definitely going to be a lot bigger. So even if you do have multiple roommates, up to 4 roommates, you're still going to have a nice spacey living room, and the rooms are definitely a lot bigger than the dorm life.
We have a question about the link again. I'm just going to reply to them with the link.
Okay.
So I think that Amal has been sending the link to us, not
Yeah.
the.
So
So if you want to copy that link from our chat to the general
yeah,
chat.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
I think you can see the link maybe. Can you let me know? I'm talking to the students.
Okay. I'll leave it in. Okay.
Uh,
I said thank you. Anything on YouTube? Okay. Amazing. So now that we've kind of talked about housing really quickly, again, I know this was a lot of information and it's very overwhelming, so we're trying to keep it as less dense as possible. Obviously, if you have more questions about living on campus, go to our website and just put MNSU on campus housing. There's a step-by-step guide on how to apply. Everything is first come, first serve. So if you're not early enough, quick enough, you might not get the room you want. Also, in the spring, there's less rooms to choose from. It's competitive. It's always competitive, I think, living on campus, but you want to start as early as possible so you get a room that you potentially want to stay in. So start early, even if you're living off campus, do not wait to get an apartment after you get here.
mhm.
Do not wait. You guys better have a lease signed, whether on campus or off campus, before you get here. We don't want you guys stranded. We don't want you guys without a place to stay in. We're not doing temporary housing anymore. So residents, if you're living on campus and you're like, oh, I want to come in early, can I just move in early? I don't think you can do that anymore. If you're going to be living off campus and you're coming in late, you want to give them a call and let them know, hey, I'm going to be in late. Can I still get the keys to my house? The one time I moved to a different apartment, I moved in like midnight, but I had called them in advance and I had said, hey, I'm moving in. Can you let me in? And so they just had security over, they sent security over with the keys to my apartment. So I'm not stranded out. If you do end up getting here really early, what I do recommend is we have American that's very, very close to campus. It's a hotel. They are giving student rates. So if you let them know that you're a student and you're just waiting to move into your apartment or housing, they can give you a student discount, but it's very, very close to campus and all the other food places, local food places. So that might be the best option for you. But again, make sure you're, let me actually American Mankato. I'm gonna put that in the chat for you guys so you guys know in case you do get here early where to go and stuff like that.
Yeah, adding on to that, if you're coming early as in from the 30th of December, I think, if you're living on campus, I know they have early arrival. They accept students for early arrivals that are international students. So if you're coming in earlier than that, I would suggest to kind of use the resources that PJ is offering right now. And also, if you're coming later than the 30th till the classes start, you can move in during the early arrival housing program that's in Res Life. So yeah, I just want to put that out there.
I don't
I
know
would
if
add
Red
on.
Life is doing that anymore because I was talking to I think we had a meeting yesterday.
Mhm.
I think I was told that they're not doing temporary housing from Res Life,
Oh
but
yeah,
There's
they can do early arrival. Is that
early
different?
arrival. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, not temporary. Yeah.
love to add
reach out to
that
them.
it has additional costs. So there is a fee of $25 for each day of early arrival. So that's the thing to keep in mind.
Also, reach out to them though. Reach out to them in advance because
Yeah.
we can't do that for you. We're not going to be here to do that for you. So we want to make sure that you guys are not stranded, especially if it's snowing out. You don't want to be out in the snow. Like you do not. That's like not a situation you want to be in. It's going to be cold. It's going to be freezing, and we would rather that you guys don't have frostbite and you guys are safe and ready for orientation, you know, and I know like I'm scaring you guys. It's probably feels like I'm scaring you guys, but I also want you guys to know that winters here can get pretty bad. And we don't want your first experience to be a bad experience, you know?
A question.
Yes,
When is the deadline for application for spring?
like spring 2024, that ship has already sailed. Unsure what the spring deadline is for 2025. Give me a second, let me double check. Are you gonna answer it, Mish? Looks like you are. So our spring semester deadline is September 1st. So if you're looking for spring 2025, that's going to be September 1st. Bethel, you're muted.
Yeah, September 4th of 2024. Yeah.
September 1st, 2024 for spring 2025. Because our spring semester orientation is January 3rd, 2024. So that's like next month, which we're very excited about. We're very excited to see you guys here. Okay, you meant application for housing. I am actually not sure. For housing, I cannot give you an answer on that. Does anybody else know what the housing application?
I can check.
Okay, yeah, we'll check and then we'll have that answer in the chat for everyone to see. Yeah, no worries. You have really great questions. We're very excited to see you during orientation. Other than that, for anybody else watching, I don't know if you guys have any other questions, but if you guys could even let us know where you're watching from. Do graduate assistantships have free accommodation on campus? No. Ibrahima had this question. Okay. You do not. With any assistantships, you do not. Unless you're you're an RA or a CA. I know they have graduate assistantships for that's just for residence life. I know that they get their own place on campus free of cost. But I don't know if they have any vacancies or openings right now. So I would double check the vacancy list and apply and see what happens. But graduate assistantships can be quite competitive, so please keep that in mind as well as you're preparing for that. And I would apply to as many as you possibly can. Okay. Alrighty. In that case, I think we can quickly take a quick break. So just for our first year students, since they're watching right now, I just have a question for our MGAs. How did you adjust to university, like the US education system? How was your experience? We're just going to take a quick break, answer that, and then move on to the next topic.
I can go first. So for me, unfortunately, I came here during COVID, so everything was mostly online. So when I got here, it was springtime, kind of like you guys. So it was winter that I wasn't used to. I come from the Middle East, you know, the desert. We don't see this cold. So I was coming in, experiencing the snow, experiencing emptiness of campus because, you know, everyone was gone because of COVID. But regardless of it all, I was still excited to join campus. I was really excited for this new adventure. I knew that COVID wasn't going to last for a while. I got to meet staff from KIC, Kearney International Center. Always made me feel welcome, always made me feel like this was my second home. I got to experience America a little bit more because I didn't have to go to class right away because it was online. So I still had that excitement of a new adventure, and that was during COVID when there was no orientation, there was no students around me. I still felt excited and thrilled by the experience. So I can't even imagine for you guys how it's going to feel when you see all these people during orientation. Yes, it's going to snow, but trust me, it's a really good experience. I love watching people during orientation take pictures of the snow because it's their first time seeing it. Yes, it gets cold, but it's an experience. It's new. It's something new, and I think new is always exciting.
Thank you, Madge. So for me, I had a cool experience because I already have experienced American education for a little bit. I read about it. I was ready to, to have a choice of classes. Wow, we don't have that in Uzbekistan. That was cool. Um, so yeah, you'll see that when you come here. About the snow, yes, it was also amazing. We do have snow in my country, but it was like cool to see how different, places can be, how it's in America. Um, Another thing for me was um, finding friends. This is how you adjust, because when you have to deal with something on your own, something that's new and you don't know how this works, it's a little hard to do. But then when you have someone like Kearney International Center people, or friends, classmates, or maybe roommates, that's for sure a lot easier to, adjust, to understand how things are working, to see what you're supposed to do in specific situations, maybe. So that was what I did. I found friends and reached out to different offices all the time, because how many questions I had. So yeah, that's it for me.
For my experience, I was a transfer student coming to MSU, and I was in another state before that, and I was in Florida. So kind of the big part of kind of adjusting to the US will be the weather. The weather has been kind of like one of like the most challenging things for me to endure. And once I got that down, I think most things probably came in naturally and everything kind of fit into place. And with Minnesota too, with the snow and the kind of the changing seasons, that's the kind of thing that I would say I struggle with. And as Amal said, with the classes and the freedom that we have to choose our classes, and with the kind of resources, kind of the opportunities that the US education system offers overall, coming from another different country, is kind of one of the things that I highly appreciate the US education system for. And the resources that MSU offers, the Carnegie International Center, kind of the facilitating help that you get in your education once you register for your courses and classes too. So kind of like resource wise, MSU is doing kind of a very great job with helping students kind of cope up with coming from a different kind of education system and kind of going into the US as well. So I would kind of say I wish I started first at MSU. That would have helped me kind of ease into the system a little bit easier. So you guys coming here first as a first year or as a transfer student, but first coming here to the US to MSU, is kind of a really good opportunity for you guys to have. So I'll kind of throw that in there.
And I think like the one thing I will tell everyone that's coming in is you make what you want your college experience to be. We're here to support you and guide you through your college experience, being here as a resource if you need support, if we need to redirect you to support on campus. But it all falls down on you and what you want your education experience to look like. We can't make you join an organization. We can't make you be involved. We can't make you make friends, right? That all falls on you. And a lot of times, being in a different country, it's very obviously it's life-changing, right? You're going from being in an area where everyone speaks the same language potentially to an environment where you're having to speak in a language that's like your second, third, or even fourth. And that's scary. It's very scary. And you can't rely on people around you as much anymore because it's all you now. But that's where it's fun, is if you can push through that discomfort of being in this unknown place and really try and get out of your comfort zone. This can be an experience that changes your life and the trajectory of your life. Personally, for me, I was a very introverted person. And I think a lot of people won't believe it. If people that know me now wouldn't believe that I used to be so introverted. But my first semester, did not talk, did not make friends. I just went to class, worked, came home. That was my life. And it didn't hit me until my second semester, like, what am I doing with my life? I'm paying thousands of dollars for a degree and I'm not doing anything about it. So for me, that was my like, oh my God, I need to get out there and like, do stuff, become better. But for me, it had to be like something that came out of my own. And I really regret it that I didn't do that earlier. I could have done a lot more. I could have achieved a lot more. And our MGAs, they're very much involved. They're very much out there. They get out of their comfort zone. They're on the front lines helping students. And I really admire that about my MGAs is it took me a long time to get to that point, but our MGAs are just amazing. They just know to do that. And I think that's incredible. So I'm very, very lucky and grateful to be working with them. And these are the students you're going to see when you're here on campus, and they're here to support you and they're here to help you. But please remember and know that your university experience is what you make of it. If you need help, if you need guidance, go to our MGAs. They're there to support you. But you know, go out there, get out of your comfort zone and do stuff. All right, so that was a tangent. I think now we're going to talk about how to get to Mankato, which is the fun part. I think Mej just kind of offline. She just needs to take care of something really quick and she'll be back. But for our traveling to Mankato, I will ask our MGs what their experiences was like getting through Customs and Border Patrol. I'm going to be very, very brief. I'll try not to overwhelm you guys watching because it can get overwhelming, but I'll kind of take you guys through that experience of getting off the airport, going through Customs and Border Patrol, what you need with you, how to get to campus. If I can find it, that is. PowerPoint. That has to be it. Okay. Okay, so traveling to Mankato. This is going to be about a 20-minute thing, so let me just quickly. So here's what you need to know about getting to Mankato. Obviously, the first step, you'll get to the airport. You will all be getting to the Minneapolis MSP airport. That's in like St. Paul. From the airport, the next step is getting to Borders and Customs and Border Patrol. I always say it flipped. I see okay. Okay, cool. So Minneapolis, St. Paul MSP is the nearest large airport. So that's where you're going to be traveling to. All international arrivals are in Terminal 1. Please remember that you're not allowed to smoke in the airport. Please do not do that. Please be mindful of that. Smoking is only allowed outdoors. So keep that in mind, please. Since we're all going to have to come through Customs and Border Patrol, this is what you need to make sure you're packing in your carry-on. So that's going to be your passport with your visa, obviously. You also want to print out your I-20 that we'll send to you via email. Make sure that's printed off, make sure it's signed. And make sure you have your bank statements and copies of those. They might ask for it. You never know. So it's always better to over-prepare than under-prepare. And also the admissions letter, you want that. What I recommend is just getting a clear case file. I can't talk today, y'all. A clear case file folder, and just put everything in there, like that one. Yes, the one that I'm all showing. You want one of those. Just put everything in there so that, amazing, beautiful. Thank you for modeling that for us. So you want to make sure you're packing those. Just keep them in your backpack so that once you're at Customs and Border Patrol, you can just take that out and then just whatever they ask for, just hand it to them. Please make sure you carry those with you. We don't want you guys stuck at the airport or anything like that. You don't want that to be your experience. Just prepare and be smart about it. They're going to have a few questions for you. So for me, they asked me what university I was going to. So I just said, oh yeah, Minnesota State University, Mankato. And I remember he asked what my major is going to be. And at the time it was sociology. So I was like, yeah, sociology. And then he just asked how long I'm planning to stay. And I was like, yeah, my degree is like a 4-year degree. But it really depends on the personnel there and what questions they have. But these are generally like what you want to be in your head. You know, obviously you're here for school. So you're going to be like, yeah, I'm here for school, right? and tell them how long you plan to stay. That's until you graduate. And then if they ask for financial documents, just have that in. Did any of our MGs, do you remember what they asked you? Because that's like mostly what I remember. I don't know if they had specific questions for you or not.
Yeah, they asked about the purpose of my visit for sure. They asked about how much money I'm carrying. Um, but there is also a potential chance they could ask about your courses and if you've registered for classes, or which you can explain orientation is going to help you do that.
Yes, you do not register for classes until like you're in orientation. We'll have a specific day for you to register for classes. So don't worry about that. Don't stress out.
My experience, oh my God, I got that from BJ. My experience was the scariest. I was thinking I'm not going to US. Although I was with my mom and my mom can handle stuff like this. We arrived at New York first because that's how the plane tickets were. And the officer asked me about my CVIS, and CVIS is a number of like social security number you're paying for. And I remember that I had like an email that I paid for it, and I'm trying to show him the email, and he's asking me for the paper, and I can't really understand what he wants because I showed them the bill that I paid and the number that I have. But they were keep asking me about the CVIS, and so eventually they got me into the room, and the other person explained that the officer meant I-20. And this was just a super scary experience because I had no idea I have to carry all of that printed with me. So I just started showing them my like emails and everything and admission letters. And then in that room, they kept me in New York, which was super scary. My mom wasn't there, which is like 500 times more scary. They just asked about um, the major, where the university is, and what the major is about. And another question was if I'm having any apple pie in my backpack, and I didn't. So that's it.
So what did we learn, everybody watching? What did we learn? Have them printed out. Have them printed out and ready to go, and don't panic. I feel like Amal handled it very, very well. The biggest thing is to remember if you do get like put aside for questioning, be calm, be collected. I know it's easier said than done, but just take a deep breath. Obviously, you're here for school. And so just say that you'll be okay, like Amal. Just, it's going to be scary, but Mish, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was gonna wait for you to finish. It can look intimidating. It can look scary, but it's their job. Like, remember, don't take it personal. You didn't do anything wrong. It's their job to look like that. The experience that Amal had, the experience that I had, is not the same experience that you guys are gonna have. Every experience is gonna look different. You can kind of consider it like your visa appointment, with the questioning, but easier and more chill. But do not take it personal. If they look scary, this is their job. Just be honest, get your stuff printed out, do what you gotta do, but don't be too scared. It's okay. And it's not an experience that everyone is, prone to have.
Amazing. All right, so let's move on really quickly. What time is it? Sorry, I panicked. I was like, I thought we went over the time. We're fine. We're good. Okay. If you are looking for contact information, I think I skipped it and no, I didn't. Okay. So these are contact informations just in case you need to contact front desk. Again, our opening hours are different. It's all in our social media. Let me put that in the chat for everyone to see. We post a lot of our real-time updates on Instagram. And so that's the best way to also stay up to date. Obviously, outside of your emails, which you should be checking, by the way. Make sure you're checking your emails. Our Instagram handle is KICMNSU, and we post all of our real-time updates on there as well. So if you're traveling and you want to, so I have that in the chat for you guys, our Instagram. Our TikTok is also KICMNSU. So feel free to do that. Okay. And then these are the numbers that you might want to keep for yourself. I think we have a question. So let me go into that right now. They said, my major is nursing, but I desire to be part of the theater community and possibly double major. Would it be possible to double major or at least join the theater community, or would I be too busy with nursing? I think, in my opinion, you could do it, but you have to be very good with time management. You have to be very good with how you're dividing your time, because nursing is already a pretty demanding major. It's a pretty demanding program, so you're going to be studying a lot. And theater is also a pretty demanding program. And so we know someone in theater, and she used to be an MGA. She used to constantly be in practice for a show that's coming up, a musical that's coming up. She was in sound. So I don't know what part of theater you want to be part of, but I'm assuming the time commitment would look just about the same. And then do you guys want to talk? I'm just going to get my charger really quick.
I'll just mention a couple of things about the question. Make sure that you will be, whenever the border control asks you about what your major is, tell them what you have on your I-20, because that's really important. Even if you plan to change or double major, just tell them what you have on your I-20. Another thing about like keeping, like doing a double major, you can definitely do that, but it really depends on how you feel about a study load, because I know people who can only do like 13 credits per semester if the classes are really, hard in their major. And I know many people who can take like 16 and 18 semester every semester. So that's a little crazy. And you can do as much as you can do, right? And my advice is to just like come there, to not do double major, but try taking a high load. And if you're okay with that, you could definitely declare a second major whenever, like even at the break time. There's like a major button will show you. I can actually like find the link and send that to you, and you can change majors whenever.
Yeah, with that, I kind of just want to say just make sure that you're ready for the course load and like the time management that's gonna come in with that, and just make sure that you're not gonna carry on more than what you can carry, because that kind of leads to burnout and everything, and you don't want that there. And there's another question in the chat, and it says, when is it possible to change my major? PJ can answer that live for you.
Yes.
Just give me a second to give him a quick answer for the previous question. As much as theater and nursing are both really impressive majors, I think a question that will help you a lot to make that decision is what's next? What are you going to do with that next, right? Like nursing and a theater major, what do you want to do with that? Knowing that double majoring, it means you're going to pay almost double the tuition, right? Because you pay for every single class. And since there are not majors that collide, so they don't have similar classes, tuition is probably going to be twice the number. Double majoring is very possible. A lot of people double major and they can do it, and I'm sure you can too. But do you want to pay for it? What are you going to do with it? So it's just a question that you want to ask yourself to make that decision. Otherwise, it's definitely doable.
I wouldn't say it would be twice the amount, because for both theater and nursing, the gen eds would be the same. It's just the major core programs that would be different. Because I know that gen ed requirements for both are pretty much identical. So you'd probably be looking at an extra, maybe if you take the time, it'd probably be an extra year or something to graduate. So obviously you can look at that. Another thing to remember, because it generally people that double major, it takes them like about 5 years to graduate. I can't, again, this is dependent on the person, so I can't be like, oh, this is standard for everybody, because everybody's experience looks different. But because the gen ed courses are very, very similar, those are fulfilled, you'd just be looking at the major programs. Also, you don't have to double major in theater. You can always be part of theater outside of the program itself. So you're not within the program, but you're still like involved heavily in theater. A lot of students do that, is they invest a certain amount of time, kind of like being part of student organization, you know? All right, we're gonna quickly move on because we don't have a lot of time. Someone said, when is it possible to change my major? You don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about that right now. I think like that's something that I need to let you guys know, is you don't have to worry about changing your major right now. It's fine. You can change your major your second semester, you can change your major your third semester. I changed my major at least 3 times before I settled on, okay, I'm gonna do psychology, and that was like my second year. But until you get to Minnesota, I would just keep the program that's on your I-20. And then once you're here, you can start deciding, okay, like maybe this isn't the program for me and I want to change it. It's pretty easy to change the major, but don't worry about it right now. It's not something that needs to be on the forefront of getting to university. The biggest thing is you need to get here, and then you can decide and figure things out after that.
Yeah, with that, make sure that if you want to update your major, just make sure that you have enough time to kind of get another I-20 issued, because the I-20 that you have right now is still for your current major, and if you're gonna change it, you'll have to get issued another I-20 paper. So I would suggest just getting here first and then kind of sorting it out as you go.
And I don't know if we're going to be issuing I-20s for spring anymore. I think we're done because it's next month. And, you know, our staff are all on deck, hands on deck, kind of figuring out some other stuff. So you can worry about changing your major when you're here.
TJ, you're mute.
TJ, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Thank you. So traveling to Mankato, you've made it to Minneapolis Airport, MSP, you've made it through Customs and Border Patrol. Now what? Mankato is an hour and a half south of MSP, so Minneapolis. So it's like an hour and a half drive. The best option I can give you is Land to Air Express. They're a shuttle, and they pick you up from the airport directly, and then they drop you off on campus. It's probably the most affordable option you can think of, unless there's someone here in Mankato that you know and they can come pick you up. If you don't have anybody, Land to Air is your best friend. Do not take taxi, Uber, or Lyft, or any other type of ride share, because that's going to cost you a lot of money, and I'd rather you guys don't spend $200 on an Uber to get to Mankato. If you're at the airport, if you get to the airport pretty late, you can always get a hotel nearby. Those hotels will pick you up from the airport, take you to the hotel, and then drop you off at the airport again the next day to get the shuttle if you need to. I can put the Land to Air Express website in the chat, so give me a second here. Does anybody have any other kind of input at all? Give me a sec while I look for that.
I have one.
Yes.
So there's a thing you need to know that's like a secret knowledge, so you're here to know that knowledge. If you're taking Land to Air, and you will be waiting for them, do not search the whole airport. Do not. Just find the place where the buses and like the ground transport is taking people from, and there is no like a table that says Land to Air. It's just gonna be there, but there's no table. It can be confusing. Just ask someone who's there from the airport if Land to Air is gonna be there, and they'll say yes, just sit there. because it happened to me a couple of times when I was searching for the thing for like hours and hours across the airport, but I was just supposed to sit in the ground transport section. It's just that there's no like sign that Land to Air is gonna come there.
It just says shuttle. So if you look at the signs at the top, it just says shuttles. That's where you follow. If you're lost, ask somebody to help. Minnesotans are generally known to be very nice. Like you guys will understand what people mean by Minnesota culture, like Minnesota nice if you haven't heard of it yet. Yeah, Minnesota, we have this thing called Minnesota nice. That means like people here are generally very nice and outwardly friendly. So that might be a little weird for some people, but it's just the general vibes here. But if you're lost, just ask someone for help. Go to the help desk. There's help desks in the airports everywhere. You can always do that. Okay. Next on the agenda, let's talk a little bit about winter and what to expect for winter. So Mesh is going to be presenting for that. Let me just mute myself and share my screen. So 1 second.
We're going to talk about how Burr gets in Minnesota, as we were literally talking about it being my first experience. And for those who are coming this spring semester is basically your first experience too. All right, I'll just keep telling you next. So what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about what to expect, kind of the temperature, how to prepare for winter in Minnesota. It's a little different from where I'm from. I'm sure it's a little different from where you're from. And then how to cope with winter on campus and what activities you can do during winter. Because I know like, wow, it gets super cold. What do I do now? So I'll give you some ideas on that. All right, PJ. So what to expect? This is kind of, the images are right here in Mankato, well, here in Mankato. This is how cold it can get in Mankato. This is what it can look like. This is what it can be like to drive in Mankato. Average winter temperature is 15 degrees Fahrenheit to 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately -9 Celsius, -1 Celsius. This is the average. Other days, it can go as low as 0 and -10, which is -20 Celsius. So it can get really, really cold. I know that about, not last year, but the year before that, we've definitely reached -30 Celsius. The wind is a different story. So yes, it can get really cold, but when it's windy, it's gonna feel different. So even if the temperature outside is -3 degrees Celsius, it can, sorry, yes, 0, what did I, 25, 0, yes. So sorry. Even if it's -3 Celsius, it can feel like -17 degrees Celsius. I'm used to Fahrenheit, but I know that there's going to be a transition between Celsius and Fahrenheit once you get here. But yes, -17 degrees does happen often. And then the wind can go as fast as 16 to 19 kilometers per hour. So, you know, high rising winds. How to prepare for winter in Minnesota. So it gets really cold and you want to layer up. This is like the best advice I can give you with dressing up is layer up, layer up, layer up. The basic layers to avoid hypothermia is the following. So as you can see, long sleeve shirts, pants or thighs, and then sweatshirts to cover it, pants, regular pants, and then you wear your winter coat. It is better to have winter pants as well. Otherwise, I would layer the pants. This is bare minimum for being outside if you want to avoid hypothermia. For those who don't know, hypothermia is when it's really cold outside and it can freeze your fingertips, your ears, your nose. So it's just something that you want to avoid because it can be very dangerous. On top of your clothing, you want to make sure that your ears are covered, your nose is covered. You can wear a mask, you know, one of these masks, right? I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the mask to cover your ears, nose, a scarf, and then gloves and boots. Regular shoes will not be enough during winter time. We have something called black ice, and those get very, very slippery. So walking outside can be very difficult with regular shoes. So you do want to try to have boots. For those coming here during spring semester, you want to have at least one coat before you arrive here. But otherwise, if you want to do your shopping here, there are mega stores like Walmart and Target. If you want cheaper prices, we do have thrift stores that sell really good material coats, but also for a cheap price. But I do suggest that you have at least one winter coat before you get here, because I know we do have some students that come in here with a jacket and then it's really cold. So you just want to be ready for that. All right, PJ. So this is kind of what we were talking about earlier. In the US, we're very well known for our transportation. We don't walk much. We like to use cars. So the cold sometimes is not felt as often as it should because people drive places. But as international students, we don't all have cars. So what do we do around campus to go from building to building? We have tunnel systems, kind of like what PJ was talking about earlier, and I think Amal was talking about it a little bit too. And these tunnels are basically either underground or above ground, where you can go from building to building without having to be outside for a single bit. There are maps like the one that's on the screen right now that shows you where these tunnels are found. And based on colors, it tells you if it's underground or above ground. So it's really nice to have around, and then you don't have to really go outside. And then you can access the buses to go a little bit further into town from the tunnels. With minus 17 degrees, what can you do outside? On days like those, I would avoid going outside. But when it's -1, -9, what can you do? There's sledding, there's snow angels, ice skating, hockey, skiing, snowboarding, tubing, building a snowman. There's a lot of fun activities to do. And like I was saying earlier, snow is typically a new experience for a lot of international students. So just being outside and playing with the snow is a fun experience of its own. I would suggest, however, to stay warm and layer up, including the winter coat. What's nice about winter coats is in a lot of stores in the US, you can see the temperature inside the coat when buying it. It will let you know the temperature that it can handle. So some coats might say -0, -1, -2, -3, but some coats will literally say that it can handle -30 degrees Celsius weather. So just check on the coat before buying it, what it says about the weather and how much it can handle. But even with the coat, you might want to layer up. And once you do, honestly, when I go tubing or skiing, the adrenaline will literally warm you up itself. There are indoor activities that you can participate in that are not just outside. We do have MAV Adventures, so a rock climbing wall indoors, and then there are indoor sports. We have a dome. We have an entire gigantic dorm where you can play soccer, you can play cricket, you can play any sports that you like, including basketball, football, and you can just rent the space. So there are indoor spaces for you guys to play your sports. And the dome is built in a way to make it feel like the field is outside, but it's completely indoors and very, very warm. So there are indoor activities, and these are some of the activities that you can do outside that'll be fun for the snow. But yeah, this is all I got for you guys. Basically, stay warm. Please bring a coat before coming here. And that's it. If you guys have any questions, or if Amal, Bethel, or PJ, you guys want to talk about your experience seeing the snow for the first time?
It was actually pretty nice because I mean, I grew up in Nepal, so I grew up north, so it snows there up north. But then I moved to the city when I was like 4 or 5, so I hadn't seen snow since then. So I saw snow after almost like 14 years. So initially I was like, oh my God, it's snow, we made snowman, did a lot of like outdoor activities, went to Mount Cato, which is the place you would go to, and they have during wintertime, they do like free snow tubing and things like that. So I went there. So I did a lot of outdoorsy stuff. And after a while, I was like, you know what? I don't like this. But I've gotten used to it now, and it's funny because it's December 19th right now. Generally, we would have a snowstorm by now, and it would be snowy and yucky outside, but there's no snow. So I am very happy. So I'm gonna knock on wood really quick because I'm thriving right now. This is really great. But I think by the time you guys get here for spring, there will definitely be snow. So like Mesh said, make sure you buy a coat. Boots, if you can, if it's available in your country, I would buy those because those get really expensive here. They're very expensive. So if you can buy snow boots in your country, bring a pair. So you're not paying hundreds of dollars for snow boots here because they're kind of expensive. Coats and stuff you can purchase here, but definitely bring a coat. But if you can buy snow boots back home, it might be a lot cheaper than purchasing them here. So bring those, and then obviously a beanie, a gloves, whatever Mesh said. Follow her advice because you don't want to be out in the cold. It's really cold.
And speaking of Mount Cato, the last picture on my slide was from Mount Cato. Mount Cato is a resort in Mankato, where you can ski, snowboard, tube, and you can rent equipment. And like PJ said, sometimes there are days that are free, afforded by campus.
How do I know my student advisor? Okay, so we're gonna answer those questions in the end, I think. So any other questions that you guys might have, put those in the Q&A place, and then we'll touch base on those at the end of the session. At this point. All right. What about you guys? What was your experience like? I know Bethel, you talked about yours already, about how like it was like a very difficult time adjusting. And I think that's gonna be the case for most of you guys because especially if you're from a tropical country or like a very hot and humid country where it doesn't rain even, and then you're here and you're like, what? But the best thing about being in Minnesota though is that we get all seasons. And so I think that's the best part though, because you have spring and you have like summer where it's like really warm, and then you have fall and then winter. So you do get all seasons. So I don't know, it's like a pick and choose, you know? Transportation wise, I know some students have generally asked me how transportation would work, especially if there's like snow outside and you don't want to walk. All students, you make your student ID card. I don't have mine with me, otherwise I would show it to you guys. But you make your MAV card. It's called MAV card. You use that MAV card to utilize a lot of. There we go. Thank you. See, that's what it looks like. So if you have those, you can take that on the bus, our school bus. You just show it to them. You don't have to pay for the bus service or anything. It's like included within your student fees. And then you can go to the grocery store. You can go to a lot of off-campus housing apartments. It takes you there. It takes you to the mall. And so, you know, you're still able to do things. You're not confined to your house all the time, especially if you are not going to have a car at least the first or second year until you buy your car. I'm not saying you have to buy a car either, because a lot of my friends didn't purchase a car until after they graduated and they had a full-time job and stuff like that that chose to stay in the US. So I'm not going to say like you have to have a car or whatever. It's your personal choice. But I found that some students just do just fine without a car until they graduate. And then there's some students that do prefer to have their own car, and that's totally fine too. It's up to you. Let's move on to RSOs and Math Pass. So Amal, you can take it away. I will mute myself so I shut up.
Okay, so there was also a question in the chat if we have great clubs. Yes, we have great clubs, and they're called RSOs, recognized student organizations. There are over 200 of them, and we have them on any like taste and liking and whatever. We have different intramural sports. You can do soccer, football, you can do hockey, a lot of things. We also have clubs like chess club, like Rubik's Cube club. We have clubs where people write poems. They do art, they do music. We have my favorite club is Adam Sandler's club. They meet to they meet to just worship Adam Sandler and watch their movies and all of that. we do have more clubs that demand work, clubs like student government, which I was a part of for a whole year and a half. And student government is organization where students work to um, make students' life better. They just work as a bridge between students and administration to bring the student concerns and feedback to administration and do some changes. PJ sent the link for all RSOs we have at MSU, so you can check that out and you can definitely find something you like. And even if you don't, even if there's no club out of 200 plus that you would want to participate in, you can open your own club and be the president of it. You'll just need to find 5 students who are interested in it. 2 of them will be your vice president and maybe a treasurer or some other position in the club. You'll be a president. Plus, you'll need to have a supervisor who can be a faculty member, staff member, or whoever is ready to supervise that. We do have faculty member supervisors for clubs like Psychi, that's for psychology majors. We have clubs in math and statistics. If you really like to challenge your mind and do like interesting stuff with mathematics sometimes, my friend is the president of the club, so that's a nice thing. Another thing, which is not an RSO, but still a very useful tool, I'd say that's a tool, is MathPass. So MathPass is peer facilitated support for students who are taking hard classes. Hard classes are the classes with high rate of drop, fail, or withdrawal. And students just like you who already did the classes with high rates of DFL, again, drop, fail, withdrawal, they just help you learn the material in a very collaborative way. They have their own sessions, and you can attend them. Sometimes for attending the sessions, your professors will give you extra credits, sometimes not, but you will gain knowledge, and you'll have a better and deep understanding of the material in the hard class. So that's also something to look out for and participate in, to enhance your academic success. Another thing I'd say about the RSOs and MathPass, that's a huge opportunity for you to make friends with the same interest that you have. That's a huge opportunity to find study buddies if it's MathPass or if it's a club within your major. We do have clubs with majors, and I'm a cognitive science major, and we don't have a lot of those people, but I didn't know that before I came to the cognitive science class where I saw like 10 plus people. That was amazing for me. So that's your way to make friends. That's your way to find someone who thinks like you and someone who can be your friend throughout your whole academic career in Minnesota State Mankato. Anything else I didn't mention?
No, I think you touched upon most of it, like almost everything pretty well. Why don't we in a group kind of talk about our involvements? I know, Amal, you kind of mentioned everything that you're kind of involved in, but Bethel and Mesh, if you guys wanted to talk about like what you've been involved in, how that's helped you as a student here, that would be great.
As when I first got here as a transfer student, I joined a transfer learning community. And I think as an RSL, it's the learning community as a whole, and that's kind of sub-branch of it. And it was pretty awesome to kind of, relate to the students that were in the community because some of them were international students, some of them were domestic, like American citizen students, but still we had that kind of the same kind of, just getting used to whole being the transfer student thing and kind of relating about it, and it kind of made me feel like I was in a community and I was not alone in this experience. And I was that like not the only person kind of going through the hardships of kind of like, getting used to the whole thing. And as part of not like an actual like a big club, but I'm a biomed major and the biological sciences has their own club. So it's one big department kind of club thing. So that's kind of what's cool about kind of being and you kind of have a club in your major, you can say. So you can kind of talk to people with the same interests, what they want to do. Like even after graduation, you can talk about kind of give each other advices on what you want to do if you're pursuing post-graduation education, everything too. So I'd probably say it got me a better connections and better kind of friends that I can, relate with and talk about my interests with. So yeah, it's a very beneficial thing to have. So join RSOs. Yeah. Meg, if you want to take over about your
Yeah.
experience with RSOs, yeah.
And Amal said something really nice is that you find people that you connect with, right? You find people with the same interests as you. My involvement with an RSO was the International Student Association. I started off as a vice president of the association and ended up as president of the association. The International Student Association gathers all international, like all the other international student associations. So India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Saudi, Nepal, Korea, Japan, all the countries that we have, they all have their own groups and they're all gathered under the International Student Association. So it was an awesome experience to collaborate with the Korean International Center and have our own association. And it's been like this for years, right? Other than that, like Bethel was saying about major related RSOs, so as I said, I was in criminal justice major, and I am part of the criminal justice association. And what we do is we gather together. Sometimes we do jail tours. We talk about potential job openings. We talk about career paths. And sometimes it's nice because you just have a study group, right? You just want people to study with, talk about your exams, talk about your classes, because there are people that are going to understand what you're going through and what you're studying. So it's really nice to have that community and get to know the people that you're studying with and know that they're interested in doing that too because they joined the RSO as well. So that's my experience with student organizations.
I am just putting the links in our YouTube comment section as well for everything that I've been posting here so that they have it as well, because we do have some viewers on YouTube. So let me
Before you,
quickly
sorry, PJ, before you switch subjects, did you guys talk about intramurals?
go for it.
All right, so intramurals, while we're in the subject of student organization, intramurals is kind of the same concept, but it's sports related. So those of you who are interested in playing sports and joining a community to do so, you can do that through intramurals. We have teams for a bunch of sports. You can either join them or create your own team. And what intramural does is that it adds your team into a tournament. So you guys play competitively or you can play for fun. But the idea of intramurals is to have your own team outside of the official Mankato teams to play the sports that you like. And again, if you don't like the team you're part of, you can create your own team. If you don't find the sports that you're into, but knowing that we have a lot of international students, I feel like a lot of options are available. But if you don't find your sports, then you can also include your sports.
Yeah, like everyone here has said, it's important that you do join student organizations because a lot of times it's a great opportunity to not only make friends that like the same things as you do, but it's also a great opportunity to better yourself as a leader, as a team player, and also work on, your ability to communicate and socialize. I've said in the past earlier, like I used to be very introverted, and the one thing that helped me become very comfortable speaking in front of a crowd was joining organizations. So during my undergraduate, so I completed my undergraduate degree at Minnesota State Mankato, and now I'm doing my master's. So I've been here for a while. And during my undergraduate years, I joined student ambassadors, Maverick Global Ambassadors, and then I was also president of the American Sign Language Club. So if you're interested in creating your own club or organization, that's absolutely possible as well. There are some things that you need to fulfill. There's an application, but if you were to be like, oh my God, we don't have this club here, let's start it, you could absolutely do that. You could find people and start an organization and become the president. And not only it looks good on your resume, but it also helps you run an organization. It's a skill set all in itself. So definitely be involved as much as you can. With MathPass, like Amal said, it's an amazing resource. So if you're struggling with a course, you're like, I don't know what's going on, I'm afraid, I might fail, utilize that resource. These resources are here for your academic success. And so we want to make sure that you're utilizing those resources to your benefit as well. We do have a bunch of questions that we can go through in just a second here. If you guys could give the first year students that are coming in one advice, what would it be?
I would say
I'd
just
say
oh,
stay positive.
well,
Stay positive because is my internet lagging again?
Amal, we can hear you.
Am I lagging?
No, you're fine. Okay, maybe you're lagging, Bethel. Do you
Yeah,
want to
now
go?
you're lagging. Does anybody else want to go first then?
sure, I can go. I think she's lagging, yeah. I would probably say just try to have an open mind and just just like experience whatever things that are gonna come to your way with like an open mind and kind of like a positive attitude. Because there's no one set right answer or like right advice that you're gonna follow that's gonna make everything kind of go right and like successful. You know what I mean? So just being an international student coming here to MSU, you're gonna get a lot of experiences, a lot of opportunities coming your way. So I suggest just kind of going on to with an open mind and a positive attitude would just be my most generalized advice.
I'm back again. Sorry, the internet. I love it. So my advice is for you to guys stay positive, whatever happens, because you need to keep in mind that being an international student is not the easiest thing to do, and you did a lot to just come there. You did your passports, you did your visa, you applied there and you got admitted. So that's a lot of things. And you just need to be proud of yourself on the worst days.
My advice would be responsible. It's very easy being away from your family and like getting a taste of like, being very independent because there's no one here to monitor you. But you have to remember that you're here to get a degree and you're here to graduate. It's good to have fun, yes. It's good to socialize, it's good to have fun, it's good to go out. But you have to be very responsible about how you're doing that, what you're doing, who you're doing it with, what your network looks like, what people you're associating yourself with, because it's also very easy to go down the bad path if you're not careful about the people you're associating yourself with. So have fun, but be responsible.
I think the advice that I would give is seek discomfort. Have fun, like this is a new experience and this is possibly the best experience you're going to have throughout your adult life. Um, it's really easy once you come here that you mingle with the same community as you had back home. So like if you're from Saudi, then you'll stick with the Saudi people, which is great, right? You want a sense of home away from home. But outside of that circle, seek for other people, seek for newer people. Working in the office, I got Bethel from Ethiopia, Amal from Uzbekistan, PJ from Nepal. I got to learn about new cultures. I got out of that comfort zone and I got to learn about new cultures. I got to be friends with Americans, right? We're coming to America, let's be friends with Americans. Try something new, right? Have you ever been hiking? Try hiking. Try something you've never done before. Try something that makes you feel like you went to America, right? And then obviously focus on your studies first. So studies come first, but because you're doing something completely different and you're visiting somewhere completely different that you're never going to forget your entire life, seek discomfort, get out of your comfort zone and try something new.
I am old. So forgive me for not knowing technology. I'm old, all right? I am. Okay. Not telling you how old I am, but I am old. All right, so we have so we have a lot of good questions. So let's answer them one by one, since we're nearing the end of the session. Someone asked, how do I know my student advisor? So during orientation, one of the days you will be taken to an advising session. That's when you'll meet someone from your department and they'll kind of give you a general plan of like, hey, this is what you should take, this is what's recommended for you, and then go from there. After that, it will show up on your e-services. So once you log into your e-services, if you look up at one of the corners, it'll tell you who your advisor is as well. Does anybody else have any input?
No, but I can take the next one.
Alrighty, so the next one is, what time does the bus shuttle pick me up and drop me off before and after school?
Great question. So we do have an application called Mav Life, which to translate, it's basically Twitter of MSU. And on that application, there is a bus route schedule. So there's no specific time to, okay, I have to wake up every single morning at 6 a.m. so I can catch the bus to go to school. It's not a high school schedule where you have class from 6 to 8 p.m. or whatever timing. It's different classes, different timings. Sometimes you can have a class at 8 a.m. and then have a class at 3 p.m. and have nothing in between. Bus shuttles are ongoing. So like every 20 minutes, every 10 minutes, sometimes every 5 minutes, there's constantly buses that take you to school and away from school. Using MavLife application, you can find the bus route schedule. And based on where you're living or based on where you want to go, it'll tell you what time your bus is coming and what time you'll be at your destination. And then once you do come here during orientation, we'd be more than happy to explain how to use that application.
Amal, do you want to take the next one? They're asking, does someone come to pick them up while they're at the airport?
Sure. So if you don't have anyone you know in the city who will pick you up, there is different kind of transportation that you can use. And we recommend Land to Air. They are not that expensive. They cost like, correct me if I'm wrong, 10 to 35 bucks, depending on the day and like the services you're taking and if you have like a lot of luggage and stuff. There is a website, and I'm thinking PJ can post that again in the discussion so you can use the link. And you can purchase the ticket on the day and the time that best fits you. Just when you purchase, remember that you will have to wait for your luggage in the airport, so don't schedule it too early. They're pretty convenient, and you can ask them questions. They will take you right to the university where you can find your housing and people who will help you. KIC office will be open in the hours on, you can find our hours on the Instagram to be sure that someone is in there. What else? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Do you want to answer with this kind of question together, Amal? The question below it says, do you have a book? Do you have to book Land to Air to be able to use it? And can you use cash to pay? Can you kind of
Oh,
go through that?
I think you need to where is the question? Okay, yeah, you need to book that on the website that PJ sent to the discussion. You'll need to book the day and the time that you need, that best fits you. And I'm thinking that you need to use a card. Any Visa card will should pass, even if it's not like American Visa or MasterCard, maybe. Um, so yeah.
I'm trying to see what options it gives me to book. So let me really try that really quick. I'm pretty sure you have to use a credit card or a yeah, like Amal said, exactly
There's no
that.
cash.
Yeah, I don't think
No
they take
cash. It's
cash.
prepaid.
So again, I want to make sure that
No
you guys
prepaid.
are also booking in advance because sometimes they will not have um availabilities on the time you're traveling maybe, or they might not be able to, or they're full and they won't show up. So if you already have booked your flights and you know what time you're landing in at MSP, book your land to air ASAP. Um, I want to say give it about an hour and a half to get your bags, get to, I don't want to say an hour and a half. That might be a bit of a stretch. But if you're having to go through Customs and Border Patrol, there might be a line. So I don't know, it might take just as long because I don't remember. Mine was pretty fast, relatively fast. But just in case the line's really long, keep that in mind. Like you need to take your luggage, you need to go to baggage claim, take your luggage, you need to go through Customs and Border Patrol. So that's like you need to allocate enough time. MSP isn't that big of an airport, but it's still like big enough to like take some time to get to the shuttle service, I think. Okay, I'm gonna dismiss this question. So how much are the books in general? How much do the books cost in general? Are my undergraduates, could you guys answer that?
I can kind of go. This is a tough question to answer because not all classes require books, and not all books cost the same. But if you look at your I-20 or if you look at the tuition payments on our website, we do have an estimate cost of how much it could potentially cost for textbooks. But again, not all textbooks are typically required for courses. Otherwise, they will offer them online. And if they're online, they're usually about 20 bucks. If it's like offered by your professor, they're usually 20 bucks added to your final tuition. Otherwise, if you want a hard copy, it can go from 100 to $300. Textbooks can be very, very expensive. Otherwise, if you buy them online, it could be $80 to $90. And then there is a website called Chegg, and then Amazon and other websites that students typically rely on, but Chegg typically has the cheaper ones, where you can buy them for $70, $80 hard book copies. I would advise buying used books, but again, I would look at your estimate cost, but it's an estimate cost, so it might not be it. And I think Amal also wanted to add something to that.
Yep. So estimate cost, just personally for me, from my experience, is a lot higher than what I actually spend. And another thing I really want to mention is that there is a Maverick Book Reserve. It's reserved with books, and sometimes you don't have to buy them. And if the Maverick Book Reserve has the book that you need, they can just provide it to you, and you will need to get it back to the reserve once the semester is done, and it will be completely free for you. You just need to find it on the website and ask for it in the library.
Yes, I was also going to bring that up. So thank you, Amal, for bringing it up. If you look at our cost of attendance link that I just posted in the chat, it's allocating $1,400 a year for books and supplies. Now, this is not just exclusively books, this is also for supplies, but that's how much we would like you to think about in terms of cost for books. It really depends on the courses you're taking. Some classes, the books are going to be more expensive than others. But like Majd said, look for secondhand books. Rent it if it's not a course within your major and you're like, I might not need it after anyway, just rent it out. It's cheaper. You just have to return it at the end of the semester. But I would follow Amal's advice first is as soon as you have what classes you're registered for, reach out to the library, the Maverick Book Reserve, and see if they have that book. If they have it, get it immediately. That way you're saving money. Just return it. Make sure you return it in a good condition. Don't just scribble on it or highlight it or do whatever. I would double check ask them if you can even highlight in the book. Usually you can't. So be respectful of the textbooks you're renting out or any equipment that you rent out, because if it's damaged and you return it, they will fine you, and you don't want that on your account. But just be mindful of that as well. Other than that, yeah, it's really hard to give an estimate. I feel like it really depends on the program, the classes you're registered for, but make sure you do have like a chunk of amount kind of saved up for books. The next question is, how do you find a room to stay on campus or off campus? We did already touch upon it at the beginning of this session. If you did attend a little bit late, I will put the link for off-campus housing. So the link I'm posting, it will send you to our off-campus website. That's through the university, and it'll show you all the units that are available off-campus that you can reach out to. So give me a second here as I do that.
I will also put the link for the spring application that is still up right now. Yeah.
Alrighty. Off-campus housing. And then if you want, you can just rewatch the session earlier that we kind of talked about as well at the end of the session. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. But you can go to that link that I just posted to find apartments on campus that are looking for tenants. Make sure you read the leasing agreement carefully and all of that. Make sure you're reading through everything. With living off campus, generally you do have to pay a security deposit. You do get that back at the end of this when you move out, as long as the apartment's in good condition. So, you want to make sure you leave the apartment in the best condition as possible, if not in the same condition you got it in, because otherwise they will take the security deposit. If the apartment's really damaged and dirty, they will charge you more. So be responsible. Give me a second here. What was I going to do again?
Send the
Your-
link.
And
Yes. What link was that?
off-campus housing. It's not letting me post to the everyone chat. I
Hold
think
on, I was gonna post it on YouTube. That's what I was gonna do. Off-campus housing.
I
Just
will.
gonna post the link on the YouTube as well, because we do have some people watching us there. Anybody want to answer the next question while I do that? Thank you.
Yeah.
I can take the visa interview on January 9th. I think that's it. So if you have your visa interview on January 9th, I'll try to reach out and ask if they could do it a little earlier, maybe at the end of December. Low chance, but sometimes they do that. And I heard a lot of cases where people were able to reschedule. Just email them and explain the situation, explain that you need to be ready for the semester start at January 8th. Another thing to do, if you cannot reschedule, is to email us and your professors that you can be late due to such and such problem with your visa. Visa officers, although not always, they can listen to your request and try to be a little faster with issuing your visa. So once you get your passport with the visa, hopefully just email everyone on campus you're having, like with your classes or KIC, that you have an issue, all right?
I'm gonna have to interject really quick. Sorry. Orientation this year is January 3rd. So if you're not here by January 2nd, I would recommend just deferring your application. Because school starts January 8th, you will not be able to get through orientation. Orientation is mandatory. You have to attend orientation. So if you're unable to, because Vivek, because your interview is on January 9th and school starts on January 8th, I would say unless, like Amal said, you are able to get an expedited visa interview like earlier, and you can like get that appointment and you get your visa and you can travel really in that short amount of time to Minnesota for orientation, I would recommend just deferring to fall 2024. So that gives you plenty of time to, get to that visa appointment. If you get rejected, you can go again. Hopefully you get it your first try because that's also really overwhelming. But I think the best advice I can give you is if you're not able to get an expedited visa interview is to just defer.
I think Amal should answer the what are the things required to be a student ambassador question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there are Maverick Global Ambassadors, that's us, and then there are also student ambassadors, and those are two different things. So I'll start by answering what you need to do to be a student ambassador. You just need to apply for that and be a part of it. Student ambassadors usually help with arriving students. They do campus tours, they help with orientation. They do sometimes info sessions for incoming students, just like we do. It's just that not only for internationals, they also do that for local students too. So you'll be very active on campus. You'll be walking a lot. It's also an RSO. Mavericks, global ambassadors, that's us. And for that, you'll need to wait for an open position and then apply, go through interview, and maybe do kind of like a mock task depending on what you will applying for. So that's what you'll need to go through, and then you'll receive the answer from the Community National Center about whether you are an MGA or not. Hopefully you are.
Yep, sorry. Okay. So there's like a big distinction between the two, and that is one is a paid position, one isn't. Maverick Global Ambassadors are all international students, and like Bethel, Amal, and Mesh, they're all part of the social media team. So we have two teams, but this is a paid position, and we work closely with international recruitment and retention. So that's this part of the university. And then social ambassadors, student ambassadors, it's a volunteer-based position. You do apply to be in it. I was part of it as an undergraduate student, and at the time, all I had to do was submit. It's still pretty like, I don't know if they're still doing it, but it was still a pretty rigorous process because I had to submit my resume and then I had to do an interview to be part of the student ambassadors, which I thought was very interesting. And I really enjoyed that process because it kind of gives you like a general idea. But because as a student, it's a volunteer-based position. And so you are, again, like Amal said, you're required to give a couple tours a semester, campus tours. You attend social events. And I know that you also get 20% off the bookstore. Is that still correct? I know that in the past you were able to get 20% off the bookstore, not for merchandise, but for textbooks and stuff you used to get 20% off. I don't know if they're still doing that.
I am not sure about that, but I know that you can get volunteering hours for being a part of student ambassadors. And the other benefit that you will gain is a confidence, public speaking skills, and just feeling more open to people. You'll get to connect with a lot of incoming students, so you'll know them ahead. That's the general feedback I heard of, but I wasn't a part of student ambassadors. I'm just friends with them.
Yeah, it was amazing when I did it. When I did it, there weren't a lot of international students in student ambassadors, but this was like 2017. And now I know that there's a lot more international students within that organization. And I highly recommend it because like Amal said, you really do learn how to get better at public speaking and how to keep an engaging time because the tours are generally an hour long and you're giving a tour to all of these students and their families that are here for a campus tour. and you need to know where to take them. You need to know how to engage them, make jokes, make them laugh so they like the university. But it's a really good experience. I would definitely recommend joining. Who was that? Whoever it was, whoever asked that question. That's a really good question. You should join, definitely. Whoever wants to answer, if I bring a draft check, what are the things I need to do first? For orientation, the one thing that you do have to pay for during orientation is your student health insurance. I don't know how much it is right now. I can look it up and post that link in the chat.
A little bit over 2,000.
And that's for the whole year. That's for the whole year. I know that a lot of people get stuck on that fee of like, oh my God, that's so much. But as someone that has a chronic condition and I need to go to the doctor a lot, if I didn't have health insurance, I don't know how I would do it. Like genuinely, I don't know how I would do it. So the health insurance has literally saved my life. So I know that a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's so much money. But if you're going to the clinic, if you need to go to the ER, if you get injured or anything like that, it's nice to have that little safety blanket because hospital bills get really expensive really fast. Like, trust. Someone did raise their hand, but could you please put your question in the Q&A box for us so that we can answer that?
I want to cover the next question right away because we talked about health insurance and there's a question about health insurance. So a question is, can I pay health insurance after I go to the uni? You can definitely do that once you arrive to the university, but you need to do that before the day of the registration. Because if you do not pay for your health insurance, you will just not be able to register for classes and complete the orientation.
Bethel, yes, we did answer that question.
I can take the next answer.
Go for it.
The next question. I will give the answer. So the question says, when is the final day of registration? So during orientation, that rhymed, I love it. During orientation, you guys will be registering for classes. So orientation starts the 4th, and then a week later is classes begin around the 8th or the 9th. Was it the 8th or the 9th?
The 8th class started the 8th.
Okay, so exactly a week later, the 8th classes begin. That week, when you start class, is your last week for registration. So once that week is done, you can no longer register for classes. But once you do get here during orientation, you will be assigned an academic advisor that will explain to you how to register for classes and what classes to register for. And then you kind of have that first week like a trial period of time where you start your classes, you look at the syllabus, and if you feel like you don't want these classes, you can drop the classes, no charges added. But that is the last week where you can register for classes. Friday at midnight is when you can no longer, well, that week of first class, Friday at midnight, you can no longer register for classes. So 1 week after school begins, that is the last day to register for classes, but registration is technically already open. I do not advise you to start registering for classes right now. You don't want to pay for classes that you end up not needing. So once you get here during orientation, you will be told what classes you need to sign up for.
Someone, anonymous attendee, asked if they can change their major. We did talk about it earlier. You have plenty of time to change your major, so I would not worry about that right now. I would come to campus with what's on your I-20 and then figure that out after you've registered for classes. Do not worry about it right now. Marian, I know you raised your hand, but I cannot. If you wanted to put your question in the chat, please let us know because we will be ending this session very soon. We are very excited. Marian, if you want to put your question in the chat, I would really appreciate that, whether it's in the chat or in the Q&A box, I would really appreciate it. But yes, we are very excited to see you guys on campus so soon. It's definitely going to be a great experience, hopefully for all of you. Please come prepared for winter. Like we've mentioned, please come with an open mind. You will be meeting a lot of people from very different countries, very different backgrounds, very different upbringings. Please be respectful of that as well and come ready to learn. That's like, it's going to be fun.
Just want to add something to the person that asked about changing majors. You can definitely do that, but just make sure that during your visa process or during your arrival here with customs, if they ask you what major you're in, make sure to mention what's on your I-20. Even if it's not what you want to study later on, just make sure to mention what's on your I-20. Once you get here, if you do change, we can change that I-20. But for now, as you're not worrying about this, just make sure to mention whatever's on your I-20.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. You can watch the recorded session on our YouTube channel, Kearney International Center. So you guys can find if you've missed a chunk of the session and you're curious to see or rewatch something, just go ahead and do that there. Oh, they said, oh, that's great. God bless you all. Thank you. I am gonna go ahead and answer those. But yes, have a great rest of your day, night, evening, wherever you are. We hope your preparation. Oh, the dog. Hello. I want to do a spotlight really quick because this is very important. Guys, this is very important.
This is very important. Yeah.
This is very crucial that
I have
we
another one under the desk right now, but he won't be joining us right now. So sorry.
unfortunate. Thank you. But yes, sorry, that was really beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Amal. Have a great rest of your day, evening, night, wherever you guys are. Mesh, you don't have to cry, it's okay. We had a great time talking to you guys and giving you guys this information. Find us when you're here on campus if you need more advice or guidance, and we'll direct you guys to the best resource that's whatever English. I can't speak English today. But hopefully this was helpful. And again, you can rewatch the recorded session on YouTube later if you've missed anything. Anybody else have anything else to add before I end the webinar? No?
See you guys soon.
See you guys soon. Bye.
Bye. So excited to meet everybody. Come say
Yes.
hi.
Safe travels and make sure you guys get here safe. Bye.
I'm traveling too, so I'll see you there or maybe at the airport. I don't know.
See you guys. Bye. Do you guys want to meet me backstage? Okay, cool.
How do you do that? How do you go backstage?
I'm just gonna end the webinar and then I don't know.